Will the Jets be okay with their quarterback, Zach Wilson, this year? Here's Robert Saleh, mandatory minicamp week, meeting with the media, talking about what he wants to see in year 2 from the 2nd overall pick in the 2021 draft, Zach Wilson. Have a listen.
What are you looking for from Zach in year 2 in terms of his development?
You ready for the cliche answer? Or No, it is, guys. You know, he had, obviously it's well documented, he had a rough rookie year. I mean, we all did. I did, including myself. So, you know, just in terms of growing, people are forgetting that he's got a young offensive supporting cast. His receivers are young, his backs are young, the O-line is just gelling together. He's young. And so for Zach, really, it's just to continue to progress and becoming the starter that a starting quarterback and moving in the direction that we all know that he's capable of. He doesn't need to be Tom Brady this year. He doesn't need to be, now if he ends up being that, that's awesome, but that's not the expectation for him. The expectation is for him to continue to climb that mountain that's quarterback play in this league. And we all got his back, and he's got a supporting cast that's working its tail off, and from there it's just piecing it together.
And look, I mean, it's a process. Tom Brady didn't become Tom Brady right away. You become a franchise quarterback through your results. You got to work toward getting to the point where you get the results. And it's not just statistical results like Matt Stafford, early years of his career. You got to have wins. You got to have on-field results. The team has to be better for Zach Wilson to be elevated. There's only so much he can do to elevate himself. He has to get W's on Sunday on a regular basis. That's when you begin to get attention and notoriety and respect, and that name enters the pantheon. Sometimes quickly, sometimes it takes a while. But look at Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, a couple of guys we're going to talk about later today as we get to the Final Four of the Chris Simms quarterback countdown. It can happen quickly, but it has a lot to do with what you have around you. Although Herbert has been able to get into the upper echelon of your rankings without even getting to the playoffs.
Right. Or, yes, Joe Burrow's got talent around him, but damn, there ain't been many quarterbacks in the history of football that got to the Super Bowl with that type of offensive line. That tells you how special he is, too. But Wilson, I think, Mike, with that conversation there, I have faith in Wilson to be a big-timer. And I believe the Jets do, too. Anybody you talk to in that organization, they love what Zach Wilson does, as far as work ethic, doing all the little things to make himself better. So that's the first reason I got belief, is it sounds like the guy loves the game, and he's living it, and he's doing all the little things to make himself better that way, physically, mentally, all those little details and intricacies. But the other thing, too, is the guy's got talent, plain and simple. It's real talent. It's like wow talent. And I think when you put those two things together, all right, and then you talk about, yes, like you're talking about support and team, that's when, okay, whoa, here we got something. But the way he played towards the end of the year, the last 4 or 5 games, he played some big-time football. And, yeah, they didn't have a great running game always, and their defense was one of the poorer ones in football. So, he wasn't like he got to sit there and, let's run the ball, and, they'll manage me, and I won't have to do much today, and maybe we can still win the game. No, they needed him to actually, make plays and get in the pocket. And this is an advanced level type quarterback play here. We got you to read it out and do it. He showed, growth in all those areas, let alone the talent to be big time. So that's where I'm excited for him. And the Jets, Mike, they're one of those teams where I want to put a little asterisk next to them, as in one of those teams I'd go watch out for a little bit. I think there's a little more talent on the team than maybe people realize. But we talked about this last week. Their schedule is so brutal. I just don't know if they can get the momentum and the confidence going to really capitalize on it for such a young football team.
Yeah, the first 9 games, Murderers Row. The easier games are tucked into the back half of the schedule. Better to get those early and start winning some games so you don't feel that urgency that borders on panic as you get into late October, early November. Now, mandatory minicamp, people available to talk to the media. Zach Wilson, speaking after Robert Saleh, had an opportunity to field a question and answer it on the expectations that Saleh has for his quarterback in year 2. Here it is.
Saleh was in here earlier, and he was talking about he believes your potential is limitless, but you can't sort of rush to the ceiling. It's where you got to be progression. He talks about 101, 301, 501. Mm-hmm. Is it tough to sort of be patient and not want to just be great right away?
Right. Well, I have that confidence in myself. I see the best play the game, and I think I can do the same thing right now. And, maybe there's glimpses of plays or whatever, but it is true. Like, you have to write out that process. You have to understand the process and where you're trying to get ultimately overall. And you can't just look at all in one year. I have to look at last year and the struggles and ups and downs of it as part of the process of getting better. And so, of course, I'm going to try and be the best I can right now, but you have to understand that it's going to take time.
Well, if it does take time, how good do you think you can be?
I guess we'll see. I really do have a lot of confidence in myself to be able to see. Obviously, I think I can be one of the best, and I think if anybody doesn't say that, then they're not a true competitor. So,
and that's right. As he's saying that, I'm thinking, well, what else is he going to say? Well, I could be middle of the pack. I aspire to be average. Who in the hell? Now, I guess in some jobs where you don't really enjoy it and it's not public, it's not visible, and you've got other concerns away from work. I've had jobs like that, and I thank God every day that I do something now that I thoroughly enjoy. But if you're not really into what you're doing, sometimes your aspiration is just keep the paycheck coming.
Yeah,
but for something like this,
right,
where it's all founded on competition and sport, and everything you do is going to be scrutinized. Yeah, if you're not saying, I think I can be one of the best, you shouldn't even be in the business. Nobody's coming out and saying, oh, I just want to make an NFL paycheck as long as I can because I really don't have any other marketable skills.
Right. No. You're not going to survive that way in the NFL more times than not. You might get a guy every now and then who can be like, hey, I'm just doing this to collect a paycheck or whatever and blah, 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 and they can get away with it. But those are like so few and far between.
They're not as good as they could be.
No.
Those guys have a great amount of natural talent, but they're squandering it by not getting the most out of it, by not being as motivated as they need to be.
100%. And a lot of times it is those kind of guys. It's the guy that you go, man, he's one of the more talented guys on the team. If he just cared, holy cow, right? But they haven't had to care for most of their life and still been great, so, why care now? That's kind of what happens with some of those guys. But when greatness kind of comes together is when you have a guy with the talent and then you go, oh, no, he's got a crazy work ethic. Whoa, Michael Jordan's got talent, and it sounds like he's the most psycho guy at practice every day. Whoa, there's Tom Brady. He's got an unbelievable arm and can play the quarterback better than anybody, and he's a psycho on May 2nd about, timing and rhythm and all that. That's when you hit greatness. And I do think the Jets see some of that in Zach Wilson, and he does have the ability to back that up. Now, can he put it all together? We're going to see. It is. There's a lot that goes into it. And then, to your point, they needed to support him to where he can show all these skills, a la Matthew Stafford, like you talked about. Oh, wait, Matthew Stafford is good. Yeah, when he has a little help around him, you can see all the other things he can do that are top level. So that's where I'm excited for the Jets. And, Mike, I know we've broken this down a little bit, but you break down the O-line, which wasn't great last year, but Laken Tomlinson, they're excited about Mekhi Becton, who I know we're going to talk about here in a minute because he's got huge talent. George Fant at tackle's pretty good, right? They got Elijah Vera Tucker at the other guard. Now you add the running back, Breece Hall from Iowa State with Michael Carter the second. And then the receivers, Elijah Moore, early second round. And then you got Corey Davis, top 10 pick, and Garrett Wilson and C.J. Uzuma at tight end. I mean, you look at it on paper, and I have that same feeling I've gotten with, like, the Miami Dolphins maybe a few years ago. You start to go, damn, they're kind of good at a lot of spots here. Now, can they go out there and play and gut out some games and learn how to win in the NFL on a consistent basis? That's going to be the big question. And like you talked about and we talked about, there's not a lot of wiggle room with some of the teams they're playing early in the year.
And before we spin it forward on the offensive line, I want to echo one point that you made, because fans need to understand, because there's a natural resentment. There's a feeling that somebody wins the lottery athletically. They have these God-given abilities that are just innate and inherent. And that is a big part of it. But also, there's a commitment to getting the absolute most out of what you've been given to compete at the highest possible levels, which means getting up extra early to work out, eating food that you'd rather not eat, like bamboo shaped into a pizza, right? Just awful stuff
Friday
that is
where you
good
go
for
out.
you. Right. No beer, no wine, no cigarettes, no weed, although the weed can be very beneficial for the purposes of managing the pain, because that's the other side of it too. You go out there and you get the crap beat out of you, and you have physical ailments because of this sport that you've given your life over to. It isn't as easy. It isn't as glamorous. It isn't as get-rich-quick as people think. You got to put a lot of effort into it, and the best players aren't just rolling out of bed and grabbing a cheeseburger for breakfast and rolling into practice and, throwing the ball around for a little bit and then going home and waiting for game day. That doesn't work.
No.
You got to put the time, especially in today's NFL. It's too competitive today. If you're not fully committed to it, you are not going to be truly one of the best. Mekhi Becton could be one of the best tackles in football, health permitting. The guy is massive, and there's a lot of expectations still.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.